Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Mike, and welcome, finally, for the first time in a long while, back to another Genshin Impact video. I'm so excited to be talking about this game again because, to be frank, at least for me anyway, the game has kind of been a little iffy here and there for me ever since we got the Chenyu Vale update, which was so long ago now, but we could be back once again, just like all of my hype for Black Ops 6 and a couple of other games out there. Genshin Impact has been cooking. We're just gonna get fed really well when it comes to 5.0. I'm so excited just to be able to actually talk about this and share some of my thoughts because we have just a lot to talk about. So much so that I'm gonna focus on a lot of the bigger ticket items in this video, just to share a lot of my thoughts on those. A lot of the more minuscule things that are gonna be changing, we'll kind of check those out when 5.0 actually drops. But let's go ahead and just quickly get into it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So, firstly, the actual trailer for 5.0. We saw a good bit of Natlan as a landscape, some of the characters, the pilgrimage area with the stadium, Mavwika, a bunch of character showcases. And as far as the ones that we're going to be getting in 5.0, Kachina and Wolani, I am very excited to see both of those. Kachina will be a free 4-star. Didn't expect anything less. We got Kale for free in Sumeru. We got Lynette for free in Fontaine. I would have definitely expected Kachina to be the free 4-star starting up Natlan, which is fantastic to see. And I am currently on a guaranteed run for Molani as well, and I'm super excited to at least give her a try and potentially cash out that guarantee. Super, super fun character. We'll talk a little bit more about the banner and characters in a little bit, but just to kind of go a little bit further on in some of the trailer information that we saw, a couple of the other spotlighted characters, at least for Act 1 and 2, we are going to see Ian-san, we are going to see Chaska as well. I'm a little bit kind of wondering what's going on with Kit Lolly, because she was shown off in some of the pre-release material from the last special program in 4.8, as well as other Natlan teasers in general, but she was not seen at all, so I'm curious to see what kind of position she's going to be taking in the story. And the reason I point that out is because I think she is probably my most anticipated character aside from the Archon. So I'm just a little bit curious to see what's kind of going on with her. Speaking of interesting tidbits, something that I definitely noticed in some of the pre-release showcase stuff for Natlan was the Traveler was not seemingly in possession of the Pyro element. They were still in their Hydro resonance with Fontaine, which, when it comes to Hoyoverse at this point, you know, things aren't so much a coincidence anymore. I'm kind of convinced that they have every single detail of the story planned out, especially since we're coming so close to the end now. And they did tease that there is going to be some kind of reasoning for the fact that our Traveler will not have access to the power of Pyro upon interacting with the Statue of the Seven, which has me kind of wondering what could be going on in terms of the Abyss or just something with Mavwika if she really is the Pyro Archon. To kind of build on top of that as well, when they were mentioning how the updates for the Archon quests are going to come out, they specifically mentioned 5.0, 5.1, and 5.3, skipping over 5.2, which, as I just mentioned, with Hoyoverse, I don't think they make any mistakes, and I don't think anything is necessarily a coincidence. They likely have something pretty big planned for 5.2, which has me a little scared, to be honest, because I have no idea what they could possibly be planning, but it's just going to be super cool to see that come to fruition if it's something related to the Abyss, or maybe even Skirk and the Sinners and just everything that is above Tevat in that sense. I'm so excited to actually see where the story of Natlan goes. So exciting. I'm actually super hyped. I haven't felt this hype for Genshin in so many months, and it's so exhilarating to kind of feel this way about the game again. I always have loved this game. It's just that, I kind of still need the big meaty Archon quests. Those are the things that I'm fully interested in. I want to know what's going on coming up soon. Speaking of coming up soon, just to kind of get a little bit of my thoughts about Natlan as a nation, just as it is. Some of the design details for the nation, as well as the overall landscape, absolutely beautiful. I love everything that was shown. Super excited to actually get in there and explore for myself. Speaking of exploring, a new mechanic for traversal, similar to how we had the 4-leaf sigils for Sumeru, to kind of just, swing around. We are going to have a new mechanic called Saurian Indwelling, which is going to be a bit strange, but will effectively be able to Mario Cappy on top of the Saurians in the nation and use their skills to be able to traverse the landscape. So the ones that kind of dig around, the ones that can fly, the ones that can swim. It's going to be super freaking cool. I'm excited to see what kind of different sort of mechanics and areas we can go to utilizing that. And kind of leaning back over into some more exploration and interactions with the tribes of Natlin. As many of us kind of know, if we have been following around the lore that has been in the game for Natlin up to this point, there are 6 total tribes, and it seems that they kind of reworked the reputation system because the nation is split up into tribes. We'll be able to not necessarily have a reputation just for the nation as a whole, but each individual tribe will kind of be contributing to our reputation for the region. So interacting with all of them relatively equally, I think will be pretty important in that regard, which is going to be super cool. Getting to see all of the cultural differences between each tribe, super, super fun. Just to kind of like speed a little bit more past this, I don't want to talk like too much more in detail about it. Like I said, we'll cover some of that, or I'll cover some of that rather, when we actually get the patch in about a week's time from now. But dude, some of the biggest changes that they made to the game have been in regards to certain quality of life changes, as well as finally the players getting a bit of justice in comparison to the other Hoyo games, with a lot of reward updates and just good features. So let's start from some of the ones that are good but weren't necessarily a problem, I don't think, and just kind of work our way up to the biggest ticket items that genuinely I'd never thought in a million years that Genshin would actually like kind of do. So firstly, most of the Inazuman mob drop rates that were previously a problem are getting buffed. We're going to be getting a slight increase in a lot of those, which I have heard was a major problem. I didn't think it necessarily was, but faster drop rates, I think that's just better overall. Speaking of just more drop rates and better challenges, we are going to be getting World Level 9. World Level 9 is something that, yet again, a lot of us in the community did not think would ever happen. But for those of you out there who want a higher challenge where your characters are obscenely overpowered, World Level 9, excuse me, I'm fumbling over my words here, is coming. And it will, for the most part, level up all enemies in the world by roughly 10. So presumably all the mobs in Natlan that are level 90 will be level 100, which is scary to think, because, dude, with the Abyss and the level 100 mobs in there, it's already scary, but again, the challenge is there. I might give it a shot. I think I'll just stick to level 8, though, for the sake of, familiarity, and already kind of accustomed to, what the sort of combat balance is that I've been using for the past 3 years about, but it's going to be there. And leading into that, with a lot of the stuff related specifically to the anniversary. Genshin released in September of 2020. We're coming up to September. A lot of the anniversary rewards are yet again coming around. Always coincides with the 0.0 updates. So, as typical, as expected, we're going to be getting the top-up reset. So if you all have bought any of the Genesis Crystal packs and you used up the double value that's on the first-time purchase, that will be reinstated. 10 fates will also be provided as per login, as per usual, as well as 1600 primos, another 10 wishes, via logging in and claiming them from the mail. So that's going to be 20 wishes total for the anniversary. I believe that's standard. I could be wrong. It could have been 10 in the past, but regardless, love to see free wishes coming around, especially for the anniversary, something special. And one thing that I do hope that they kind of lean in with is, now with both HSR and ZZZ using the free 10 wishes per patch, I hope Genshin follows suit and also does that starting with 5.0. We didn't get a confirmation of that, but I hope they are considering it, if not already planning on that. And now for some of the biggest ticket items that are the largest quality of life and player friendly choices that they have made to the game. The biggest one, I think, is artifact transmuting, which basically is the player being able to get a very limited resource, a very limited item that can create an artifact from a specific set that you select the main stat and 2 substats for. So we will be able to pick out a artifact, select the main stat that we want, as well as 2 substats, which is guaranteed crit rate crit damage for everybody. And that is going to be something extremely rare. I imagine it's only going to be 1 per patch for free-to-play players, maybe 2 for people who buy the Battle Pass or the Vulcans or something like that. But it's going to be an extremely rare resource, and I'm just glad it's finally in the game. I have a bunch of characters that need like that 1 perfect artifact that I have not gotten, and it's so annoying, but I'll finally be able to kind of make use of that. So happy for that. And going more towards the gacha side of things, the weapon banner has finally been fixed. Not that there was necessarily a problem to begin with, but it certainly just was annoying, the fact that you had to lose the 50-50 twice in order to get the weapon that you wanted after that on a guarantee. Now they have reduced that to the same as the character banners, where you just need to lose once, and the next one will be the guaranteed weapon that you want. The way that they described it is because the weapon banner uses the epitomized path points, all they did is reduced it from 2 points needed to 1 point, which means it is still entirely possible that on your loss, you will not get the other limited weapon. So for example, let's say that Yelan and Ayaka were running together. You would have the Mist Splitter as well as the Aqua Simulacra. You had a chance of either getting one of these standard banner weapons, any of the Skyward set, or the Mist Splitter, or the Simulacra. And say you were going for the Simulacra, you know, you would get a chance of getting the Mist Splitter or one of the standard weapons. Now it's literally either or, because the next one that you get is going to be the weapon that you want. Bit of give and take there, but I'm personally just so happy to see that it's effectively changed to the way the character banner works. That's all I could ask for, because, you know, as cool as it is to kind of get the other limited weapon, just getting the one that you actually want much faster is way better. I love that. Speaking of the limited banner updates, they added a new thing called capturing radiance to the character banners, which I'm not sure exactly like how entirely it works in terms of like all of the chance stats that they were trying to describe, but as far as I can tell, basically your 50-50s now are 55-45 in favor of the limited character, of course. So a 5% rate up increase for actually getting the character that you want on lost 50-50s now. I think for the most part, everybody's just going to keep calling them 50-50s, but just know that starting from 5.0, all of your 50-50s will have technically a 5% higher chance of being won, which always a good thing. Very happy to see that. Very minor thing, I probably would have been, you know, a little bit happier to see something like 60-40, maybe 70-30, but I know that would be pushing it. But 55-45, I think that's perfectly fine. Higher chances all the way around. And kind of topping off with some of the biggest things that are coming to the game, similar to how HSR and ZZZ had a free 5-star selector after you wish on the standard banner 300 times, Genshin is one-upping that, presumably just to kind of make up for the fact that it hasn't been there since launch. But starting from 5.0, for the remainder of the anniversaries that Genshin has, we will be able to choose one of the 5-star characters to get for ourselves, which I think is super cool. We'll be able to get constellations for characters that are on the standard banner. If we haven't been getting them, if y'all have been cursed with Chi-Chi, I personally have been cursed with Jean and D-Luke. Both of them I think are C4. And my Kuching, which is one of my favorite characters as far as the standard banners go. She's only C1. I want to start getting her higher. I'm just super excited to have a chance to like actually start bringing her up for that. Which, speaking of, they also did mention that they are going to be continually updating the standard banner as well. So likely, it's entirely possible we could see some previous characters that were limited only moving into the standard banner. You know, I had always held the belief, along with I think the majority of the community, that Albedo should be a standard banner character. Not necessarily because he like holds any less value than all of the other 5-stars, but just because, you know, I recognize the fact that he has not been reran in God knows how long. I think it's been longer than Eula, and so many people were focused on Eula being in gacha jail, which was funny, but I think it's been a while for him. And putting a Geo 5-star on the standard banner, I think would be cool. But you know, the point is that they're going to be updating the standard banner more. How, we don't know. I think they could just put a couple of limited characters on there, similar to how they did Dia. You know, we would presume that she would be limited, but she went straight to standard after her banner. Tainari the same way. Fontaine is due for one. You know, we haven't had any of the Fontaine characters move to the standard banner. It's entirely possible, but there's just so much to talk about, man. They freaking cooked with 5.0, and this is just where I want to like take a quick step back, kind of calm down, and acknowledge the fact that I do believe that clearly Hoyoverse, at least as the Genshin team is concerned, they definitely felt the burn after HSR made a lot of good changes for their 2.0, and the community kind of imploded in on itself for the following months after that. Um, you know, it's one thing to kind of have your game that you're making, play it, and then have two very vocal sides of the community both praising it and ridiculing it for things that other games are doing better. And not only other games, but other games that are a part of your same studio. So I can totally understand and imagine that the devs wanted to input a lot of these things quicker, but it was just a matter of the fact that, you know, as a game dev, and for as long as a game that Genshin has been running up to this point, I don't doubt that Genshin likely is starting to run on some spaghetti code with how often it gets updated and how long it's been since the original drop of the game, with a bunch of new areas being added, a bunch of new characters being added, new mechanics, new reactions. I don't envy the fact that the devs likely have a bunch of bugs to work through and a lot of workarounds that they have to create to make a lot of these things kind of work. And I both sympathize and empathize with the fact that Dawei was the one that mentioned this vocally in the special program, but you know, they were kind of lost as far as a dev team goes with what specific changes to make to keep the community relatively happy, presumably until now, where they could save a lot of these good things for a big 5.0 change, which, you know, I fully respect and understand where they're coming from. I will always support this game, no matter like how distant it seems I may get from, you know, playing the game or talking about it. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not leaving this game. I love it to death. It is one of my favorites, and I will see it through to the end. Hopefully, you know, not to kind of count my chickens before they hatch, but possibly a Genshin 2 or just some new chapter of Genshin could happen after Conria, because, you know, I don't want to see this game end, man. It likely will, but oh man, I just love and respect this game, and I know the devs are trying their absolute hardest. I never, you know, want to ever have the devs feel like they're being attacked or ridiculed for things that they're just trying to do right by the community. They're doing their best. They're doing their best to work around certain things, and I'm just super happy to see a lot of these changes finally coming to fruition. I definitely left out a lot of other minor things. Like I said, I'll kind of look into those and maybe talk about them when 5.0 actually drops in about a week's time. But just for this video, because it's already running fairly long for a lot of these changes and my thoughts on them, I think we'll go ahead and leave it here for today. For those of you who are in the Genshin space and you are likely losing your mind just as I am, I want to know what some of your thoughts on a lot of these things are. It could be the things that I mentioned in this video. It could be the things that I didn't. Some of the things relating to the Archon quests, you know, early access and things like that for newer players, or anything else of the sort. Because, you know, even if I may not be able to make videos right away, I definitely am going to be playing this game as often as possible. I love it, and I'm super excited to see what else we have coming for us in the patches beyond Natlan 5.0. So with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.